So is there a painting for you that you or an artist where it's very specific about for your color research? Is there any painter?
No, what is really for me was the most impressive one is the Calling of San Matthew. The fact, the intuition to represent the journey of light into a visual art. There is no other painting that I know these are very clear, are very strong, like that painting. No one. If you want to search in literature, you should read Absalone, Absalone, written by William Faulkner, an American writer. There is a scene when one of the old lady, the leading character, has a meeting with the judge in this little town in her house. They having a tea. And she starts the story to say, look how the light, the sunlight, coming through this window, not even disturbed by the daylight, and revealed by the innumerable component of the obscurity. This is the meaning of the memory. I'm translating English some Italian word which I know better in Italian. But it describes in literature the journey of light coming into one area, that describing two different stages, like Caravaggio did in this painting. That's the only piece of literature that I knew that somebody is writing, describing so strongly the journey of sunlight into our life and making this kind of separation. And is described make visible the journey through the pulvisco, the thin element that are in the hair. In cinema or in photography or in television, we use smoke in order to reveal the journey of light. Otherwise, the light is invisible. So only it can be revealed in the obscurity only if it lit something. And William Faulkner described perfectly the painting of Caravaggio, not nominating Caravaggio, but describing this big light coming to this room while they are speaking about the past. Read Absalone, Absalone. If I don't have any other question, do they have any question about Reds?
大家对于昨天的电影有没有什么问题可以提出？
I'm sorry, I came into the screening room yesterday afternoon and I saw the last half an hour probably. I'm sorry that you're viewing this movie not on film and not with the film projector. You're watching through a Blu-ray, I understood. And unfortunately, the video projector is not powerful enough to show really what the movie looked like. What I saw yesterday over here was a very dark screening. So if you take the same DVD, the Blu-ray, and you're watching on your player at home probably, don't watch movie on the laptop. Don't watch movie on the little screen. Don't watch movie on your telephone. Movie are made for big screen. And usually at home, I'm sure that you have a nice, good size of television set that you can have much more the feeling of the impression of what the movie is about. Try to educating yourself to respect the proportion of every subject they are made for. Film are made for big screen. Today, for example, the Academy, the Italian Academy, European Academy, American Academy, particularly American, are sending to us members of the Academy to vote for an Oscar, DVD or Blu-ray. So, because there are several movies, they are not yet open in Italy, but they are open already in America. And so I have no chance to vote unless the company, that they care about any member vote. So they send on their expense, not on the expense of the Academy, 6,500 DVD or Blu-ray, wherever there is available, to every member, because they want that you see the movie in order to vote. And I can vote for most of the movie because I received this kind of DVD. But I do have at my home 65-inch monitor with the surround sound system. So I'm able to have a very good, say, presentation of the movie, and I'm able to vote for different category. Usually in the Academy you vote only for your own category, plus the best film. So cinematography, I voted just for cinematography and film. And so on, so on, so on. Costume designer, are voting only for costume designer and film. Everybody voting for films. This is for the nomination. When they got the nomination, we vote for everybody. We do have best film, best director, best costume, best art department, best cinematography, so on. But if you have a chance to see as best that you can the movie, you are able to tell in a more serious way your opinion. Don't take the habit to use, how you call the small one? The iPad. Don't use your telephone because it's convenient, because it's portable, you can watch everywhere. Movies are not made for those sides, not for those sides, not for this one size. I wrote recently a letter to the European Academy that because they have some kind of difficulty to have the DVD to send to us, they give you a kind of code that you can go online and you can see movie, but the quality of the movie are not a very high quality, so you can see movie only through this kind of size, through the laptop. And I say I refuse to vote to watch a movie on my laptop because this will be not serious. And I will not vote any longer on that Academy unless they go back to send me an element. Can be in electronic that I can copy with my little stuff and I can put in my television. So, but I need to see, if I want to respect the work the director, the cinematographer, production designer did in one movie, I need to use the best chances possible for me to really have a serious consideration of their own work. So don't get used to, for your own simplicity in the way you live, to watch a movie in something so small. Movies are not made for this kind of stuff. You can do it if you search something. For fast way, you go in iPad, you're watching something. But if you want to really take care of the movie, watch it on the maximum big screen that you can, is available for you. Anyhow, do you have any question about Reds?
我想问一下老师，就是瑞子的那个十月革命的那场戏。
Can I have the volume higher? The volume. Okay.
好，我想请问一下老师，就是瑞子的那个十月革命的那场戏，跟我们那个末代皇帝，文革的那场戏的那个对光的那种设计，就是听一下你的想法。
For example, of course, when Warren Beatty proposed me the picture, I was considering how I can represent in a very short scene the kind of movement, the energy that was going on during the Bolshevik takeover to the Menshevik and the kind of revolution that happened in Petersburg. I was watching Sergei Eisenstein movie called October, and I saw the use of searchlights they was using in 1920, the movie they did. And that gave me the idea. They said, okay, that light were, because they were used during the Second World War to search for airplane, so those kind of lights are period light. In fact, when I went to St. Petersburg, I show you the painting. They represent the takeover of the Winter Palace, and there is a beam of light on the sky. So somebody that paint that moment used the searchlights because it was true. They were using at that time. And Sergei Eisenstein proved it. That's why I use it behind the tramway to having this movement of light on the sky. That gave me the kind of energy the revolution was at that moment in Petersburg. Something they cannot use during the last temple because there was no any reason to do that, and before that time was not even in period. And that was not the concept. After lunch we will talk about the last temple.
老师，我还有个问题，就是那个《瑞子》里面那个主人公被关在监狱里边，在芬兰还是哪个国家？那个监狱里面的那个光线的处理，还是根据卡拉瓦乔的这些画作来构思的吗？那个光线处理？
No, if you notice, it was very soft light arriving from him to declare something still. He couldn't move, he couldn't act, he couldn't. They don't let even drink water because for him it was very important because he was sick on his own liver. So he have to wait that somebody liberating him. He cannot do anything. In fact, I didn't use it. Like for example, I used it in Giordano Bruno when he was in prison. Unfortunately, you didn't see the movie because I need always to show the intelligence, the brain, the will of Giordano Bruno. There was a kind of strong light against the philosophy of the church at that period. John Reed was, at that moment, he knew there was guilty. He really went through without any permission of government. Like me today, in all the conversations I had on the telephone, because I have to use my business card to buy a ticket in order to, I received the visa to be here only for 72 hours. We were searching the plane that was allow myself to finish my commitment with you gentlemen, to do the 3 seminar, and to present to you the 3 film, which was my commitment with all the organization to respect the program. So we have to change my plan living. This because there was some kind of trouble with the visa, the only visa I could receive. That's why I did an incredible journey from Rome, instead to come with the directly plane, which I went to the airport. They don't let me leave because I didn't have any visa. So I have to leave the day after. We have to go to Istanbul, from Istanbul to Hong Kong to Beijing. In order to come in through Hong Kong, they can give it to you, the temporary visa. And I'm here in temporary, like Caravaggio. And I have to leave this afternoon. But for you gentlemen, I do all my best to, I did 27-hour flight, another 20 hours to go back. It's okay, don't worry.
我想听一下老师关于你对声音跟音乐，就作为这个视听语言，这个摄影跟声音这2块，你是怎么样就是 从现场或从后期有没有一个就是以前的合作的那种构想，或是对经验分享？
Well, in the case of Reds, for example, the only music that we used while we were shooting was the International. The International is kind of symbol of revolution. And Warren I used it while we were shooting because we have to have the kind of rhythm of the International during the sequence into the factory, for example. That's the only music that we heard. But can you imagine to be in Los Angeles at the Academy of Motion Picture Art and Science, and they call your name from the platform, and they say, okay, the Oscar goes to Faustino Lovi to Vittorio Storaro. You stand up very emotionally, and you walk with the music of the International in Los Angeles. Because they normally use the music, the main theme of the film. So they didn't thought that the International was totally opposite of the philosophy of the American. I went pick up the Oscar with the International. That's my experience. Thank you. Now, let me tell you about this book. This is the third book that we presented to you, gentlemen. It is a very important book for me because, as I mentioned to you, I haven't done a classic education, classic study. So at the beginning of my career, I didn't know the story of painting. I didn't know Caravaggio, I didn't know Leonardo, I didn't know anybody. Only step by step, when I stopped studying, got deeply into my research, I knew the entire history of Renaissance and so on. So this book is mainly the connection between myself and painting, but with the painting that I knew at the time. I used the only Caravaggio here at the beginning, connection with my first film, because while I was doing this film, as I told you, in the middle of the shooting, I was impressed by this painting. That's the only classic painting on this. The book is divided in two parts, on this first part. Later, any connection with the movie that I was doing, I put in the painting that I knew at that moment. I was in Yugoslavia, in Zagreb, doing the story coming from the story of Alberto Moravia, the same writer that did The Conformist. And here is where I discover primitive painting in Yugoslavia, the Croatia's painting. And that gave me an incredible feeling of the presence of color. They were using color in a very saturated way, in a very simple mind. They are not cultural people. But that touched me a lot. This is Ivan Generalic. He was painting those kind of painting, very primitive, naive. He was a land worker. In the winter time, that's what they do. They painting on glass. If you put in an oil color on glass, those colors are not being absorbed. They get dried pure. So they are very, very strong. This painting is 1930 or something like that. This is another painter called Mio Kovacic. It looks like he's a modern Bruegel. He's an incredible painter. This is Spider Stratagem, the story that I did with Bernardo, the first movie that I did as a cinematographer with Bertolucci in a little town called Sabionita, very close to Parma. Parma is the town where Bertolucci was born. And here is where I met this other painter called Antonio Ligabue. This was an Italian primitive painter. So this is the kind of connection between the the movie they was doing with the painting that I met step by step gave me the influence. In doing the crime of the tennis court, no, this is the bird of the crystal plumage from Dario Argento. We were using some primitive painting that I bought in Croatia because one of the characters was a primitive painter. This is where I was in Paris doing the conformist, and I saw this painting into this is Croatia's painter as well, Ivan Laskovic. There was into a gallery. So I went to Rome, and I discovered that they were making a presentation of all the Croatian painters that I met directly in Croatia, in Rome. And so I saw these four major painters, which Ivan Vescenai, Rabuzin, Kovacic, and Laskovic. I did the story of Aeneas. Aeneas is a great hero, of a Trojan prince. From the war between Greek and Troy, when Troy was destroyed, one of the princes called Aeneas left and went to search from the land of his ancestor and arrived in Rome. He practically was the founder of the Roman civility. And in Belgrade, we were shooting, I found a village that they were primitive painters in Yugoslavia, in Belgrade. And so I was buying all this painting every Sunday. During the weekend, I was shooting during the Sunday time, I was discovering those painters. My concept for those kind of presentation of the light, natural light, was my use of at dusk time, magic hour, the blue color. Well, you cannot imagine my happiness when I discovered this gentleman in this little town called Kovačica, near Belgrade. He was painting with the blue color, exactly what I was trying to do on film. And I said to him, you know, you are over here very quiet, you do everything you want, and I have to fight against production, director, everything, in order to film at dusk, in order to achieve exactly what you are achieving. So I love this, his name is Knjazovic. So all the story of this first part of the book is mainly connected while I'm doing a movie, and the kind of painting I founded, and the kind of influence had those painters into the movie they was doing. This was the story of, it is a pity she's out, the love story between father, the sister and brother. And I saw this painting that really touched me a lot, which was an Italian, North Italy painters. They called naive, but he was not really naive. I mean, he was a great painter, Gino Covilli, which is practically this gentleman. This one. This was the first time that they saw one of his paintings. And now, the more I was continuing to do work, I did a little Western with a friend of mine, and I discovered the painting that Remington in America was doing about those kind of period. I met a woman, a Yugoslavian woman, she's a lyric singer, that she was presenting an incredible exhibition of these four main painters in Yugoslavia, and I accepted to do a documentary on those painters. I made 1900, and once again in Parma, I met those primitive painters. They belong to Parma. This is another image of 1900, and this is, if you saw 1900, in this case, it's the painter that copied the movie. This is one of the scenes with that we had in the movie. And later, he made this painting having the inspiration from the movie. This is one that honestly I don't know who is copying who was impressed or inspired by who. This is one of the major paintings that he did. Without any doubt influenced me during the scene of the dinner with the land workers. But at the same time, I don't know if he did the painting after the movie or I did the movie before him. Now I'm confused with the date because they're very close to each other. And so on, so on, so on. I went to do with Francis Coppola the location scout in Bali, in Indonesia, till the ending on the Philippines, and I discovered these painters in the island of Bali. So there is the connection between movie and painters, cinematography and painting. When I did Agata in England, I met those other English painters that were doing painting on glass. When I did Luna, I discovered the incredible painters there are in theater, that they are painting the major canvas to describe the scene. So each one of those people are not classic painters. They are not in the museum. But to me, they gave me in different area. This is a primitive painter that I met in Finland while I was doing Reds. I went one night to discover this guy that was living over there. And when I did the one from the art, my major influence was Disney. I mean, he really gave me all the idea because he was using symbology of color in making one from the art. Mainly came from Disney. If you watch Snow White, Cinderella, Pinocchio, those classic pictures, you will discover the principle of symbology of color. Those one I did Wagner, I discovered this primitive painting in Hungary. And so on, so on, so on. The second part, yes. Back to Italy, when I did Lady Hawk, I met again Covilli. When I was in Russia, I discovered those people they are doing with the very thin brushes, the incredible story of the 15th century. That was a great influence for me for doing Peter the Great. Those are wonderful stories, classic story of the 15th century. When I was in China, and I discovered those little paintings made on marble. To me, was another influence. When I did Tucker, I discovered some American painters, from Rockwell to Emma Goldman. When I did Dick Tracy, was the drawing of Dick Tracy that became a major influence for me. And so on, so on, so on. In Africa, we discovered Africana painters. Till, well, I was doing Little Buddha, of a great story about the history of Buddha was, without any doubt, my major theme. Till once I started teaching at the Academy of L'Aquila, I made an agreement with the painters, Covilli, and we did with our student a monograph about his own life. Because we started with we were filming on with the high definition video camera, Cinealta, making those monographs in a moment when nobody was using Cinealta at the moment professionally. But in that school, because Sony gave it to me the camera to test the camera, and I was doing the any test with the student and doing the monograph using painting, but with the new modern technology. Step by step, we went to his house and we made one of the beautiful monographs on his life and on his painting with the student, arriving to show his incredible life. And now you can see the mixing between photography and painting. And see the kind of incredible strength that he has. He was a partisan, lived when he was 18 years old on the hills, in the mountain, and saw the violence of the nature as well the violence of the human being fighting one against each other. So he tried to convey all the tragedy of life in his own painting. So practically the book is made into parts. One is my journey between the thing that I was doing with in meeting different painters, and one is the discovery or the work of this man that was so impressive for me. Can you see it's so opposite from Caravaggio? But at the same time, he has the same strength in the way they describe life, see from his own personality. I show you just some more. But here is written Italian and English again. All his life and all his point of view, but the visualization is made with a, this is photograph that I took directly into the photography camera. The mixing, let's say, the artist and his own creativity. So if I have another one. Practically, my idea was to have, as far as I could, the relationship between cinematography and painting. Which has become quite unique. We did the major exhibition in Rome, at the Senato of Rome, and one of the major ministers, he was the head of the Senate, presented the exhibition. We display original painting, a photograph, in order to, it was quite unique, the exhibition, in order to have a really well lit, in order to have really the power of this gentleman as a painter and my interpretation as a cinematographer made through the vision of the student. Probably I was only, we did a documentary apart from this book, but all the research and all cinematography, directing, editing was made by the student, only with the supervision of ourselves as a teacher. This is myself and him. This is one of the last large moments of his life when he was changing completely his vision. Now he became a grandfather. He was 8 years old. And step by step you can see through his own life like also his creativity is changing step by step. This is it. I believe that we can have now a break for lunch, and after we can, I would like to introduce the principal concept of the last temple, and after we will have another segment of question and answer. Please do not be shy in asking questions. Don't worry. Don't think there can be not good enough the question or not important enough. Any question will become important because it's something that we have to make it clear if you have a question. You have to illuminate in that moment. So don't be shy. I'm here for some more few hours. Please don't be shy. Ask me any question that you want to, and I will try my best to answer to you. Thank you very much.